Welcome to a very interesting pro-revenge story from Wrecked Yoshit. Partner with limited authority over management. Playing from workers' dugout, though. I had recently partnered with a small production facility in my area. Our contract was based on capital investment, along with designing/implementing new automation processes. 2-year outlook finished in 8 months. Was a typical small production facility comprised of 50 production workers through 2 shifts of 12 hours that ran 2 days on, then 3 days off. Also had 2 production supervisors for each shift and 1 maintenance supervisor for each shift. The people and their attitude is ultimately what led to my decision to be more than an outside contractor for this company, until I worked the night shift for a week due to shutdowns that needed to occur to implement certain line upgrades. This is where I met him. We will call him Richard Head. Richard seemed like a nice guy in our first few encounters, and then I heard him in his element directing his maintenance crew at night over the radio. He would belittle this group of guys who were there to do a set task list every night for whatever machinery they were doing preventative maintenance on. Unless something broke on the line which would require attention first, obviously. I have never heard grown men spoken to like this and never heard any nasty remarks back or defending themselves. He would call them stupid on the radio if they were having trouble troubleshooting a problem, call some fat and lazy, called one black guy. The guy had been there since they opened the doors and, to be honest, made me want to rescind any commitment I have ever made to this company. When I escalated this up to the plant manager, he assured me that it was friendly banter and they rarely had complaints against him. True, because anyone who ever did so in confidence of anonymity was always outed and then singled out until they were terminated by him. Since no one was going to listen to me, I decided to do my due diligence and started to document everything I heard on the radio with a date/time, witnesses to the treatment, and what rights the individual was having violated due to our state and federal outlines. I made this spreadsheet my entire time in the shift, documenting every personal account I witnessed as well. Harassment is a major problem with industry work, but the one that I have learned is the company killer is retaliation. If you can prove that, then they stand no chance. I saw him one night tearing down this 50-year-old man who requested 2 days off to the point I wanted to lose my cool, but knew it would ruin all the information I was gathering. Days off were because his nephew was just in a car accident 2 days prior and had to have multiple reconstructive surgeries scheduled. I knew that now was the time to move on everything. I rounded up all the maintenance guys and shared all my documentation with them. They didn't realize the importance of this information like I had. They just said nothing will change. Nothing changed because no one treats an issue as an issue if you come with incorrect, non-detailed information. The fact that he used the radio so much was a godsend that they didn't see as well. When he spoke this way to people, he must not have ever realized that there are other supervisors on shift and that they unintentionally became the strongest witness in the cases, especially when you have some audio recordings verifying the accounts. They have no choice but to acknowledge what they have heard. Each worker took their logs, and even though I have a capital/time investment in this facility, I urged them at a minimum to petition to have this man removed or to threaten legal action. Once they coordinated a day to expose all this, it was like watching a sports movie when the underdogs take the championship and get the girl at the same time. Not only did the man finally get fired, but the entire atmosphere around the place changed more than I could imagine. Older machines ran the best they have ever run in my time there, and people loved coming to work again. They also put a placard on my door for when I came in about a week later. It said, "No one boss," but the boss was crossed out and hand engraved under it was the word badass. I obviously removed it from my door, but I put it in my home office and is probably the best thing I have ever received from a facility. Here are the top comments on the post. The first one is from CND Poster. "You're one of the good eggs, OP." These are the kind of people the posters at r/anti-work are complaining about. The Tukansk 3i3 tour replies to CND Poster. Their whole thing is quitting the place of employment, rather than try to fix it. They think their supervisors give a if they quit. They really don't. It's an inconvenience, sure, but there's always someone willing to do the job. This goes so far beyond their scope, most of them couldn't comprehend a play like OP's. OP replies to the Tukansk 3L3 tour. You would be surprised how many supervisors care but are put in positions, usually from higher up the chain, that make them reprimand for rules they don't agree with. Not taking away from any worker, but these guys were skilled workers in electrical, instrumentation, pneumatics, pipe fitters, welders, and so on. Losing any percentage of these workers hurts bad, especially in a time where we don't see even half the amount of workers with their background unemployed and looking. It makes companies start to rob Peter to pay Paul in some areas, which affects bottom line tremendously when we are talking downtime or hiring outside contractors to pick the slack up. The next comment is from QB Rote. Dude, I've worked skilled for over 30 years. In any shop I've been in, you wouldn't have had to document a thing, unless it was the hospital bill for removing a breaker bar from his head. OP replies to QB Rote. EBW member for half the years I've been alive. I think you are completely right given the jobs I've been on, except for nuclear powerhouses. The factory world is a lot of stepping on necks to move up the ladder compared to giving someone a hand to help them up, even more as someone having an investment in such a company. I was taught that lesson at another facility my firm partnered with. Supervisor of the maintenance crew was running 10 to 20 minutes late, he said, and to run through the pass down of the previous shift and get everyone moving. Fast forward an hour later, I made a comment. When I was in the trade and my boss didn't show up within the first hour, you would be finding us at the bar. That was turned around into me saying that since he didn't show up, they could go to the bar, which all his guys did without telling anyone, and banded together on their account of thinking I said they could. So I document almost everything out of CYA habits now. Out of 13 guys who left me high and dry, 3 pointed out and were terminated for leaving before shift without notice or approval. Felt bad, but I had to prove myself all over again as a viable asset after that. No one won that day. The next comment is from OP on his own post. This will most likely be my last comment on this thread. Thank you for all the nice words, but I hope anyone who gets a chance to better some people workplaces takes the ball if others can't. I won't out of fear. A lot of people are saying that workplace banter is okay if it's mutual and so on. Everyone obviously has their own opinion of what they are willing to let people say to or about them. Just remember when a member of management starts to make comments about you or your peers like, "Bob, you aren't working, who you kidding?" The comment is a friendly exchange, one would hope, but think a little outside of your periphery and go back to the most basic market scheme. Phrase, repetition. The other managers will possibly start attaching traits like lazy or does the minimum to your work ethic. Even though it may not necessarily be true, you and the manager might have potentially ruined your chances at possible promotions in the future. I know that's a reach, but you would be surprised how the brain works sometimes, especially if they don't know you. That's if you are looking for a move up the ladder. Some could care less what people say, and you have that right too. All that was great in the past was ridiculed, condemned, combated, suppressed, only to emerge all the more powerfully, all the more triumphantly from the struggle. Nikola Tesla. The revenge was really epic and ultimate. OP meticulously documented Richard's abusive behavior over the radio and hit where it hurts the most, leading to complete transformation of the workplace. It was not only about the revenge, but it was OP earning the utmost respect of the workers, which is obvious from the play-cared "no one badass" they displayed on the door of the OP. Let's now jump over to another story from Morgoth Great. Oh, I said / did what? All right, check my recording. Obligatory. This happened a few years ago, and it is legal to record without consent in my state. TL, DR at bottom. All right, so some years ago I used to work for a major tech company. I had to move around floors a lot because I was in charge of the tech side of keeping business running smoothly for those that had to communicate with customers, clients, etc. There was this one lady that was a bit of a problem and had a habit of being involved in a lot of terminations due to supposed harassment claims. I had to deal with her a few times a week, somewhat regularly. Now I have some trust issues and generally view a workplace as a minefield and tend to have a "my colleagues are the enemy" mentality. I'm paranoid and anxious, so sue me. Because of that, I record every conversation I have and have a recording going at all times via a recorder pen I keep in my shirt pocket. It's got great quality. Story time. I was doing some work after completely replacing the computer / and many of the tech on her floor, and I had to walk behind her and several other people who were at their desks working. One of the several keyboards I was carrying out of the confined space hit the back of her chair while I was walking and talking into my headset to a colleague. She turned around abruptly and glared at me, but said nothing. I finished my work for the day and went home. Next day, I get in, am met by security, and taken up to the HR floor. She made a claim against me, saying I made a sequel comment and grabbed her ass. I was being terminated. After everything is said and I'm handed the paperwork, I pull out my laptop and quickly pull up the camera feed, which has no sound. They say, "Well, there is not audio to cover you, so..." I say, "Well, actually, I record everything I say or do while working here." I then slowly pull up the recording for that day and have them listen to all of it. The lawyer in the room had the saltiest look I've ever seen. Well, they lost their grounds to term me, and I immediately filed an HR complaint and threatened to get legal involved. She was terminated a few days later. Around a week after that, they ended up going after her for embezzlement because they do a basic full investigation into somebody terminated and found she had been stealing company money through an expenses card. It was apparently a lot, because sometime afterwards she ended up doing time. Was a great experience, and it justifies viewing your coworkers as enemies and recording them. Also, never trust HR. Edit 1.5. I removed the branding from the pen years ago, but I got it on Amazon for like $40. I think it might be one of the following brands though. Almago, Home Life Digital, or Jazzwill. I honestly don't recall. It's not voice activated though, it actively records at all times while on. Ignore this edit. See Edit 4 for the pen brand. Edit 2, apologies for the slow replies, typos, and missing chunks. There is more to the story, and bits I forgot. I have a very bad memory and tend to forget things very fast. I could only have my head put through the wall so many times as a kid by my old man before there's some functional issues in the old electric meat bag. I'll try to answer as many questions as I can. Edit 3. Also, to the people sending me DMs or replying with accusing me of being a women hater fascist incel. Are you okay? Do you need a hug? I don't have a problem with women, but it seems like some of you all might be projecting. Edit 4. I am 90% confident. The pen was a Brookston product I got at a discount from when my sister used to run a Brookston location. I think I was wrong in the original edit about the brand. Edit 5. How would he grab her if she was sitting? The office chairs had gaps through which that is plausible. Also, my laptop wasn't a recording device. It had access to the camera system that surveyed every floor. TLDR. I am accused of physical, verbal harassment and/or assault. I use a recording device and cameras to prove otherwise. Her being terminated goes brr. Edit 6. A lot of armchair lawyers, armchair techs, etc. in the comments. Yes, I had access to the cameras, I set them up. Yes, I had a laptop with access, I set it up. Are you all right? Here are some top comments on the post. The first one is from snoo_97581. HR actually did a crappy job here if they were moving forward to terminate without conducting a full investigation, especially if this person had a history of complaints. The next comment is from the_warfrog. You can trust HR though, provided you know what their job is. The job of HR is to prevent the company from getting sued. If you know that, you can trust them completely to do what it takes to prevent the company from getting sued. NYRB2 replies to the _warfrog. Didn't really work in this case, thought, seeing as they laid themselves right open to a wrongful termination suit. Since when can you fire somebody on the say-so of somebody else without even listening to the defendant's side of the story? Underground Lurker replies to NYRB2. In an at-will state, you can fire a person for anything, even nothing. Most harassment isn't going to be recorded, and once a claim has been made, if left unaddressed, then she can sue for the workplace promoting said harassment. Is it going to be termination on the first offense without any evidence? Probably not. The typical response will be to insist the accused no longer interact with the victim without a specific witness. Also, most people don't have anything to gain from making excessive harassment claims. So, sure, OP's story has some holes. But if his job was just threatened, and he exaggerated her claims of the past, then it's a bit more believable. Especially when you consider that retaliation against someone who legitimately is the victim of harassment is a risk to the company. But I don't know many companies that would be fond of someone recording everything, regardless of being a one-party consent state, just for the simple risk of corporate espionage or making slight gaffes by management into bigger legal problems. At will would likely bite him in the ass soon after. The revenge was ultimate, and it became possible due to recording. If OP didn't have that pen camera, taking revenge would have been impossible. It was satisfying to see the liar getting fired. Let's now jump to another story. It is from Ens Devon. Not pay me for the website I built? Say goodbye to your business, house, and reputation. This happened early 2000s, and I used to be a freelance front-end dev and a search engine optimization guru. Back then, getting on the front page of Google was pretty simple. Link exchanging was popular, but risky. I never did that, but I did have a single website that had serious PageRank clout due to it being linked as a trusted source directly from one of the top and most trusted websites in the world. I would use this website for the best clients to get their PageRank and search engine position leapfrogging other, older, and more trusted websites. One day I was approached by someone I'll call Bob. Now Bob sold travel packages. He needed to revamp his basic existing website with a complex website built with pretty tricky back-end coding. I could do the front end, but I had to hire a back-end dev to build the functionality. Bob had a major launch in a month's time, and it had to be ready. I usually ask for 25% deposit up front, but Bob said no, he was stung by the last dev and wasn't going to lose any more money. Now, from the moment I met Bob, my gut was telling me this was going to end badly. The problem was I needed the money, and it was worth quite a lot of money for me and the dev. I skipped the deposit on the promise he paid in full before it went on his server. Bob agreed. For an entire month we worked day and sometimes all night to get this done in his time frame. With a day to spare, we had done it, and I'd never been so proud of what we had achieved. I was honestly excited to show Bob. The next day I sent the link to my test server, and he phoned me to discuss it. Bob said everything looked good, but he was worried his server's PHP version may be too old to run it. I assured him it would, but he said he was too scared it won't and we would scrub our hands of it. We went backwards and forwards, but he was insistent the site has been uploaded and tested on his server before he parts with a penny. I chatted to my dev. He didn't like it either, but agreed we would upload our work onto his server. Bob gave me the FTP details and server login, and I uploaded the site. I told him it was live, and then nothing. I sent several emails and then phone calls. The emails went unanswered, and the phone went to voicemail. Sensing a major problem, I rushed to my computer, fired up my FTP program to delete our work on his server, and access denied. He had locked us out, and the following day he went live with our work. For several days I tried phoning until one morning he answered the phone and said, "Listen, I'm not ever going to pay you, and there is nothing you can do about it." Then Bob hung up. Rage was a good word for my feelings. I was shaking while I still held the phone in my hand. For the next hour, my range of expletives was growing in complexity. As I sat there figuring out what to do, it hit me. Revenge will be mine. I registered a new domain name, which was Bob's Travel domain name, plus sucks at the end. If Bob's website was called bobstravel.com, I had purchased bobstravelsucks.com. I uploaded our work, basically an exact mirror of his live website, onto my new domain. I used my all-powerful mega-page rank domain to link to my new sucks domain. Within a month, my website jumped above his website in Google for every conceivable search phrase you would use for the packages he sold. No matter what you typed in, my site was the first result, and his was always below mine. During that month, I created a second website, which was Bob's full name with sucks at the end. On this second website, I posted what happened, screenshots of his emails, and warning everyone what a con man he is. Bob had a somewhat unusual first and last time. Again, within a month, my website was above his own personal website. I then forgot all about it. About 4 months later, I get a cease and desist email from a solicitor's firm. A quick Google showed the solicitor's firm was made up and didn't exist. I reply back with, "I'm not ever going to take them down, and there is nothing you can do about it." Every now and then, I'd get emails from people he had conned by taking their money for a travel package, but never booking their package. I'd put those on both of my websites, making sure those juicy, important keywords, his full name and company name, were spread across each negative review. A few more months pass, and I get an anonymous email linking to a new domain called My Name Sucks. I'm told to remove my 2 websites, and he will remove this new one. A quick search, and what do you know? It isn't even on Google. No one could find it. I reply back for a second time with his comment to me. As each month passes, I'm getting more and more people emailing me saying they've been ripped off. I keep adding them to my website. It turns out the travel agency world is well regulated, and they started an investigation into Bob's company, using my website as their main tool. I get a call from Bob. Bob is not a happy Bob. In fact, Bob is more of a desperate Bob. Looking at this text now, I know you can almost hear the despair and resentment in Bob's voice. Bob pleads and literally begs me to pull the sites down. Not only is he being investigated by the Travel Agency Association, but he had some very important friends that didn't appreciate the bad press he was causing in their circles, and he offers to pay me the money he owed. Nothing more, just what he owed. For the 3rd time, and with a massive smile on my face, I say, "Listen, I'm not ever taking them down, and there is nothing you can do about it." Roll on a few months, and I discover his travel company has been removed from all travel associations. No matter what you typed into Google, my website outranked his, and all the bad reviews on my site were the first thing his potential customers would see. I crippled his business so badly. It went bust. During the collapse, one of his ex-employees contacted me and told me how hard he had worked to get my websites off the first page. He had registered dozens and dozens of other domains in the hopes some would jump ahead. Little did he know, only the top dozen websites in the world could jump it. Apparently, his property was tied into loans on the failing business, and he lost his house too. It took me just about a year to turn his business from a cash cow to a dead cow. Motto of the story: if you ever think to mess with a dev, don't. Updates: my first ever award. Thanks for the silver. Wow. Thank you for all your awards. Many of you are saying I should have taken the money and not pulled the sites down. At that point, it wasn't about the money. He thought he could simply buy his way out of it after pretending to be a solicitor and then trying the same thing on me. Him knowing I didn't care about the money anymore must have driven him crazy, because money was all he cared about. He then knew he could do nothing to stop his business going down the pan, and all he could do was watch it all fall apart around him. OP did a wonderful job by exposing the unethical behavior of Bob, who refused to pay for the website OP built. It was really satisfying to see Bob's travel business collapsing, him losing his house, and the destruction of his reputation.